Okay, cool. Yeah, and so we're back for part 2 of Catalysis. Catalysis. I can never figure out how to actually pronounce this. No. I changed it from Catalyst to Catalysis because confusion. Because obviously the Catalyst is that, and this is for Catalysis. And the difference is, Catalyst is the agent, right? And Catalysis is the process. Right, and given that here on Cast, the idea is to go, to illustrate more the process than actually, because this is not where it actually happens in a way. So it happens over there, on idea scale, and then here it's more of looking at the actual process kind of thing. So we were at number 20, so now we'll move on to number 21 as we continue our awesome exploration into the different projects which are on Catalyst. So just as a summary, what we're doing here is we're just sort of going over some of the projects which were submitted for Fund 2. Right, so it's Fund 2. Next up is Fund 3, which starts around in January at some point. And yeah, it's a fund which is funded by the Treasury from the Cardano network, right? So the Treasury is funded by transactions which happen on the network, and a fraction of that go into this one particular pot that is called the Treasury, and some money from that is allotted to the community to be able to actually fund ideas, right? So at the moment, Fund 2 was around 250K, the equivalent of US dollars of ADA available, and the fund sizes are actually just going to increase over time, right? So shortly we're going to be looking at $1 million for a particular fund. So yeah, we're just going through the proposals, and what we're actually doing here is we're not giving an opinion either way, saying that you should vote for something or not. That's not the that's not what we are going for here. What we're going for here is just big picture. What's this idea trying to achieve? Is it okay, that doesn't fit. Is it is there something in this idea that if it works, it would be really quite transformative, and also I suppose a downside, like what's a downside to this, without giving whether we would vote for it or not kind of thing. We're not even looking into the proposals themselves or how much they're asking for, the team, the relevant background. It's just simply the problem statement, or the title, problem statement, and solution. Right, so with that out of the way, I'll just actually get started with this first one. We're going to alternate. So the last time it was Tevo who read, so now I am going to be reading this one. So we've got Umed, who has proposed Slot Leader Podcast. So another podcast. Problem statement. Business and finance professionals control large amounts of developer/financial resources, but have a tainted view of the blockchain space. Okay, like Bitcoin is used by criminals, that kind of thing. I get what he's getting at. So the solution that Umid suggests is a Slot Leader aims to raise awareness about Cardano among business/finance professionals to consider building financial products on it. What do you think?
As we previous episode, we also mentioned a bunch of podcasts, so I wouldn't go too deep into the podcasts and why they are good or bad. But for the particular challenge, I like that, again, he's focused, he knows what where is the problem and what he's going to solve. So that's the good point in it. And yeah, I think it just overall that's what we need, like to all the different aspects what we are missing, and financial and
business
is very, very like useful. Like
yeah. So yeah, but I'll say downside is the format. The podcast, we spoke about whether it being, whether it's a sustainable format. I'd argue that being the downside. The potential upside of this is, a lot of resources, financial resources are held. But then we need to figure out that trust element, right, within crypto / blockchain, for lack of a better word. Cool. So next one,
the PYNE fund. More funding. Traditional fundraising methods for Cardano startups, nonprofits, and social good projects is too cumbersome, opaque and high risk. Is too cumbersome, opaque and high risk. Okay. Solution: stake pools operated for Cardano startups, charities, non-profits, and social good projects. So this is similar we had in previous episode, Fox rewards, I assume, like, and brings out that it brings out the question about social good and what are we going to like fundraise for when there is not a particular project we want, and if they could not get funded in Cardano, where else they could be fit for, with no particular challenge and stuff. So yeah, technically it addresses the challenge too, because it's a platform where all those entrepreneurs and developers come together. So yeah, it all depends how it's done. But overall, I think it's a good thing.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I feel like I know a little bit more about this particular proposal. One thing that I really like about it is actually in the implementation, he suggests inverting the model of how a stake pool is rewarded, right? So at the moment, stake pools make some money in terms of percentage. So it's like 1% or 2 or 3 or 4/5 at the most. What he proposes is to actually have like much larger, like 70%, etc., but the pool is actually working in a sort of like upside down way, where its purpose is to actually generate revenue or to have those rewards that the stake pool earns to be like the equivalent of them raising money, right? But then the people obviously who then delegate to this pool, they'll have some sort of like a smart contract, which at the end of the value that is created by this startup, basically they then get a piece of it somehow, at some point. So it's a really good idea. I feel like he's not really been able to describe this really the unique selling point all that well in the problem and
this is what we talked about before, that the problem, the statement, and the title already gives us information. If you're interested in fundraising and stuff, then you go into details and then you find that, oh, that's actually a very good idea. But but the titles and all that stuff from the first impression already gives out the thing what actually it is solving, and the problem itself, which is, I think, well executed.
True. Although I would argue that the solution, I think it's the strongest problem statement, but the solution, the way he has written it out, is, I would argue, weak, and I think he would probably agree. Yeah. Okay, so this is me, right?
This is you.
Okay, cool. Afatoga, I think, proposes independent token incentive blogs. Okay, interesting. Independent token incentive blogs. Okay. Problem statement: it should be easier for public. Okay, it should be easier for the public to publish news/blog articles, and on top of that, get the proper amount of attention from the audience. Okay, yeah. Describe your solution. I would like to build an app for both readers and writers, where a reader has a motivation to spend app tokens on articles he reads. Okay, basically sort of like microtransactions.
Yeah, I have one problem with this, which it says that he wants to build an app and motivate people to pay for the content. But what motivates it? I would have liked to hear the. But yeah, I would probably go into the detail later, so and actually assess what he is proposing. But for the broader view, yeah, I think it's very valuable to give actually a monetary value or like a token value to and wait with something from your own to how good is that article and does it how does it change it? Because right now we all have these thumbs up and thumbs down in social medias and all that stuff, but they are free, they are spammable, they're bottable. But if you have to give something away from you, then it has more value.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think big picture here, microtransactions, incentivizing, quality information that you can trust is a really cool and interesting problem to solve for. At the same time, I think perhaps, in terms of if you solve this problem, then other entrepreneurs/developers could see this and be like, oh, okay, that has succeeded over there, I should maybe come over and build something similar or solve a problem that I'm looking to solve over in Cardano, right? Because going back to the idea of what the challenge for this was. So I'd say big picture, looking at content specific sort of incentivization, I think would be a good solve. And so big picture, once that's done, like that's definitely of value. Okay, right, so this is you, I think.
Beef chain for medical devices.
Yeah.
Problem: healthcare costs are skyrocketing, making access to healthcare difficult for many. This should and can be changed as soon as possible. Yep, I agree. In some states or countries, this is messed up. And solution is blockchain for medical devices, tracking, traceability, inventory management, patient safety, all this stuff. It just goes on. I agree. I just recently came up from a Simpa Chain webinar and heard about Cool Chain, which is like now I'm putting marketing here, but they have like devices what go humidity and temperature, and they go with the vaccine box, and people and all of these like hospitals buy them and put them in, and they all the regulators, all the hospitals themselves, and everybody who's like connected have the like open platform where all the data is going, and it's verified and trusted, and that is what blockchain for. And Cardano has facilitated all this groundwork, and now we just need stuff like this on top of that. And so in the grand scheme, this is very important. And
yeah, although there's definitely a pain point here which is being solved. However, I would question if Beef Chain is known well enough to use it as an example. I feel like you know what I mean, it's not like saying Airbnb or Uber for, you know what I mean. So sort of like using an example which is not really actually that broadly known kind of thing. But yeah, I think I agree with everything that you said. Healthcare is super important, and again, like it's weird. It's a weird problem because depending on whatever geography you're from, it's different, right? So I don't know what it's like in Estonia, but in the UK here, we've got basically sort of nationalized healthcare with the National Health Service, and that's really different from how America approaches it, which is more private, private healthcare insurance kind of thing. I mean, here in the UK, you can get private insurance, healthcare insurance, but you have the huge sort of fallback, which is the publicly available. So it's definitely a huge huge potential for environments, and also maybe even places which have public healthcare. That won't always be the case, right? It might be that blockchain enabling a much better healthcare experience would mean that governments will then stop being the the providers of healthcare. So this is definitely an important problem to look into, and that's big picture. Okay, so number 25, gold key 0070. Cardano, let's start. Cardano's social and economic ecosystem. Problem statement: there is no social platform to buy and sell items using ADA. Describe your solution. Create a social network with a mix of the old AOL chat rooms and Facebook, with a market to buy and sell items with ADA. What do you think? We've kind of already covered this to some extent.
Yeah, it did. And also, but right now I was literally thinking, do I want a pay button with ADA? Or this is right. I think this is not really required as an ecosystem or as a platform. What we need is a payment gateway, which just opens up for whatever you use your value. It doesn't have to be ADA. Whatever token you use, put it in there, and it converts to whatever the other person thinks he wants, and just swaps it. So we don't need a platform.
Basically, air swaps.
Yeah.
And
the Facebook and all these things who don't adopt the gateway, they are just gonna be left behind. It's because I feel like decentralized way, everything what brings value to everybody is like more and open source and seeable, and then it's gonna overvalue the other aspects. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we actually managed to do that in really good time. Okay, so moving on to the next one. So I think this is you, right?
Yep. ArtDapp, powered by Cardano. An estimated 40% of investment-grade art in circulation, if fake or fraudulent. Okay. So 40% investment-grade art is fake or fraudulent. Global art market is 70 billion annual industry. Okay, so a lot of statistics. Solution: authentication via uninterrupted provenance chain, combined with identity and digital image recognition. Digital image recognition should be the industry standard. A lot of hard words for me. So, yeah, you are artist. What do you think?
Let's see. I mean, well, okay. Just as a quick aside, questionable sort of statistics, or which in the beginning of the fund, the examples were like, give all these like numbers so that people can, they're helpful, but anyway. So I think provenance in the context of art, is an issue, and things like fake or fraudulent pieces have been found to be circulating, and it's really not good, because it just sort of like it takes away from people's trust in the institutions which actually provide the artwork itself, or facilitate like auction houses, etc. So yeah, there would be value in doing this, and I think definitely digital imaging, and like scanning stuff like with ultraviolet, or like different what are they called, different type of sort of imaging, because you can be able to have a look at, assuming we're talking about painting specifically here, you can be able to tell the age of something, and whether because if something's a fake, it was not done at an older time compared to the newer time that it was done. So yeah, there's definitely value there, although like I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's too early for this Dapp for now. I think at first we need the art and the non-fungible tokens first, or pretty much who want to be like, yeah, you can only use this when you pay and when this gets more broader, all this artistic stuff and all the digital, I don't know, music, pictures, then I would see that, okay, you have one application, what is, and or any kind of, which kind of recognizes that, okay, does it has, is it snippet, is it converted, where it's downloaded? Because, but I always feel like there is a way to still like fake the real stuff, like in even for the, even if it's like somehow signatured in the back, like I don't know, behind the picture itself, codified somewhere very niftily.
Yeah, but I feel like I mean the opportunity here is really quite awesome, and other people have looked into it. Even things like fractional ownership of art. Like I forget what the name of one company which was really looking into that. However, I think so big picture here, I think if this is solved, because it's about the integrity of the art, right? And then on top of that, understanding, okay, this person owned it, the chain of ownership, right? Once that is solved, I think, and there's an incentive, especially for fine art, to do so, right? So once that's solved, that can then, be replicated in other, in other environments, to be able to have this solution which helps with the integrity of something, and also the challenge here is something like an NFT that's purely digital, right? What we're talking about here is having some sort of a handshake between something that's digital and something that's physical, right? There's some exploration in terms of what people are trying in terms of supply chain stuff, with all this sort of digital tagging, etc.
This is not the physical, this is digital imaging.
No, like digital imaging recognition, meaning like you have a physical painting like the Mona Lisa, but you take like a high-end camera which has like that can scan like UV light and that kind of thing, to be able to prove that the art is the art, the original kind of thing, like image recognition, like AI, and looking at particular details which the human eye can't see, but will be near impossible to fake. So no, yeah, definitely a lot of potential there. Start. Is this me?
Yes.
Okay, it is. Okay, so this is Edward with a song for Cardano. Whilst that image loads, problem statement. Raising awareness of a cause is always hard in the short term, but a focused community song could spread the word like wildfire. Okay. Solution. A song for Cardano will spread the word of Cardano like wildfire with its original community-based song approach and catchy visual lyrics. Okay, this, for some reason, my mind just immediately jumps to the football idea, right? So if you think of football teams, they usually have have their own like anthems kind of thing. Or even I suppose like a nation as well. Nations usually have their own have their own national anthems, right? So I definitely, I definitely see that. And yeah, it could definitely be of value. However, I think this would really, I suppose, would this take the form of like a contest, or would this particular person be the one composing the song, kind of thing? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe that's in the breakdown. But yeah, big picture, I think, yeah, there is value in possibly exploring this. Again, it's a wild and weird idea that, yeah.
It's funny how it made statements. All these things are encapsulated. The wording is very odd. But okay, so the real stuff, the music, I think it's a cool thing to explore, because it you don't associate communities with music so often, but if you do, then you just recognize them much more better, and it's something, I don't know, unique, and that's why maybe it should be done. Or
yeah, true. But then, like, can you think of any other similar context where, because I mean, I gave a country and a football team. Like, can you think of a different context where that is the case? Like, Apple don't have a song, Nike don't have a song. But
when you go
maybe
to the shop, you have some muzak, or when you go to the bars or restaurants, they all have their own kind of different background, or like it puts a theme. But I have a problem with that. What theme? Like, maybe it's off-putting that it's electronic for some people, and like a guitar guy for this another one. So it has so.
Yeah.
So it can't be one song, because the community is like everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, potential in terms of like just a different different way of thinking in terms of the idea. So this is you.
Okay. And this is me. Oh my god. Okay. Easy remittance payments. Problem: easy to use, transparent fees, affordable remittance payments anywhere in the world, from one currency to another. So the problem is that there isn't one, I guess. And solution: tie fiat dollars to an ADA stablecoin. User can receive, send dollars on chain and draw the equivalent from the fiat pool set up around the world. Yeah, it's important to have stablecoin, but I feel you won't beat Ergo. Like, we already have it on the pipeline by the AHG, and I don't know, would the community stablecoin bring any extra value? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, ADA stablecoin. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it would. Like the value of stable coins is really quite huge, and yeah, one on Cardano would make sense. Hence, as you said, in the context of the ADA.
God dang, I have to stand up for a sec.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Stable coins are definitely value, especially just in general for crypto because of the amount of volatility. However, I think I agree with what you're saying. Like, with stable coins, there's this notion of sort of first mover advantage because of adoption, right? So in the first place, you need something that's trusted, and usually trust arrives at being implemented well, right? And then once that's the case, it then gets adoption, and once adoption is there, you have the network effects, which make it quite difficult for separate stablecoin to actually be able to exist. I think remittance is super, like, it's a big thing. The fact that the current options are like, is it MoneyGram or like what's the yellow one?
No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I
The
forget.
only
But
stable coins I use are Tether. There are Drew USD. There are some others that are like using gold, using stocks, and using like a bag of different assets classes. So
yeah, no, I was talking about like you know, in the real world, in terms of people being able to send money from one country to another, you know, which is remittance. Like it's a problem. You know, even companies like Facebook and WhatsApp have tried to solve this problem because you know, usually what you have is, you know, you'd have someone who you know, moves, sort of is an economic migrant, right? Moves to a different country because of economic opportunity, and then sends money back to the family. So it's a huge market, huge opportunity. And I think, yeah, big picture in terms of this particular proposal, yeah, I think making them easier and better is definitely, you know, has a high value there. So the next one here from Robert. A smart market toolkit for Cardano. Problem statement. A killer application specific to Cardano is needed to drive wide-scale adoption. So, okay, yeah. Killer applications usually help, you know, if you think of like the Mac or the PCs in the early day, they had like spreadsheets or VisiCalc, right? Killer application, which makes something work. So specific to Cardano is needed to, okay, cool. So solution, construct a toolkit for building smart markets. The killer Dapp on Cardano. You can then trade any mix of assets tokenized as NFTs. Okay.
I don't know what is smart market. So something automated, I assume, but what, like what? Like when I want something, then I buy it, and what does the smart market just tries to get me the best price, or what?
I'm assuming, yeah. I suppose, yeah. In this case, you know, you'd need to actually know what a smart market is. But I feel like, yeah, what big picture here, I agree with, you know, the value of a killer application. Although whether or not the nature of killer applications applies to a decentralized world where you can be able to shift from place to place, whether that exists in this paradigm, I'm not entirely sure. And yeah, I suppose the solution is, you know, might be a bit, there might be, you know, it might be a bit too confusing, you know, with, as you said, with the smart markets in there, it's not entirely, you know, sure. What I get is, okay, a mix of any assets tokenized as an NFT. So would this be like, you know, if I had, you know, CryptoKitties and like other, like ADA and ETH and Bitcoin, could I then be able to have those embedded in one like basket and have that be an NFT? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that might be part of what the implementation here might be. But yeah, so big picture, I think there's definitely some interesting value that could be built from approaching something, you know, in terms of thinking of it as having the power of a killer app for Cardano specifically. And maybe stablecoins are you know, have that function, right? If Cardano is able to achieve a stablecoin, which, you know, which is really trusted and has like a good solid foundation in terms of its implementation, you know, whatever, you know, in the whatever the background of it in terms of, you know, what balances it, as well as, you know, its technical implementation, that in itself could actually, you know, be a killer app. So yeah, this is you. Start.
Liqwid, Cardano, DeFi lending markets. problem. Instant borrow lending markets are too expensive, cost time, default risks, and users have no ability to monetize their credit data. So basically, when I see lending apps, I see like 20-30% like payment next April probably. Okay, describe the solution. Open source DeFi lending app, automated liquidity pools, so users can be the bank and govern the protocol with incentives to bootstrap credit. Yep, I think this is what blockchain is made for.
Like
Everybody can they trust the system that and the system they trust the system to do the contract, but yeah, it still has the risk of you give the money out and it doesn't come back. But if you do it consistently to some small businesses or small things, you will have a reliable data to keep funding or lending. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, like even just the simple idea of using your credit worthiness to monetize it. It's basically saying, okay, hey, I'm able to to lend out money or to borrow money and pay back on time, and have a really good history of that. Being able to leverage that trust, that is to leverage it for and to monetize it, that is really quite rich and quite valuable.
And another thing very good is because it's an open blockchain and you have a contest. Not like right now we have a contest where there is only one person who is willing to give money, is the business, the centralized business who gives. But now it's open to everybody, so the highest,
the liquidity,
the lowest bidder actually gives the money out pretty much. So you're incentivizing the user to lend.
Yeah. Not only, I mean, you touched on a whole bunch of really valuable points there, but just in the whatever of time, let's just keep going. Okay, so this is me, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so from Paolo. Incentivized with a Z. Oh my god. Incentivized knowledge sharing. Problem statement. Interesting people get overloaded with comments on social media. Important and urgent questions often do not get deserved attention. Solution. Ask anything and attach a small crypto donative in ADA to boost your visibility. A smart contract guarantees an answer or your money back. Yeah, I mean, my mind immediately goes to earn.com, which is, a startup which existed a few years ago and then got bought by Coinbase. Started by Bilaji, I think. Srinavesan. Bit of a tricky name to say, but this entrepreneur dude, started it, and now he's over at Coinbase. I think I think there's a bunch of value in creating something like this, and like big picture, it can once it's tied to identity, of course, and then being able to actually get a question answered, right? And it in a way, this is really quite valuable because it's incentivized both ways, right? Not only for the person answering, but also the person asking, right? Because if you're asking something which is of value enough for someone to answer, you can then, get some sort of a reward for that, as well as a person who actually answers it. Does that make sense? Right, yeah. Because there's quality information which, these two parties agreed on actually meeting in the middle. But then obviously, you could, people could abuse it and just ask weird questions,
probably from the famous people, they're just gonna get very private information they're gonna be asked, but then the value is gonna increase. And I don't know, who's gonna gamify it. But it's a new market. And I think this is something we would like to actually explore. What was the name of that thing? I need to. The previous one.
The previous one, incentivized. Oh god, I can't remember.
Market.
Yeah.
I think I should stop voting right now on Rainbow. I try to keep voting after we go discuss it, but I could actually go after.
Okay, yeah. Or you could just take a screenshot or just quickly go back and rewatch
since
it.
we're gonna all anyway go through this entire thing. All right, I'm gonna focus this now.
Okay.
Torus.
So,
yeah, your turn. No.
What is it? Me?
I don't know. I'm gonna.
No, it's you. It's you.
Torus, governance for open source. Problem: it should be possible to make living contributing to open source, but open source suffers from pervasive instability and lack of funding. Solution: create a graphical Dapp to manage open source governance, including consensus and funding. I think this sounds like a very important thing to discuss how to do it, but I don't know. There are so I don't know. It's like almost like the same things as previously. If the thing you're building is value for someone, it's gonna monetize itself. So, and if somebody needs something and it has a value, then somebody else gonna fund it for you, or he's gonna put the pay up. So I think this is a discussion between people, and the platform could make it easier, but I don't know. What is the provided solution here? Like another Dapp? I think GitHub is quite good already, and you just talk to people.
Yeah, but I think this is similar to the Spocker thing, where if you look to build something that's centralized, I think you then defeat the purpose. I think building a system through government versus governance. If you build a system that enables this, because there's value, as you said already, in someone creating something and being able to automatically get the value or the reward extracted from that, right? Because it's all crypto, right? You can be able to automate that. But from a standpoint of understanding what problems are there to solve and how much value could be created if you solve them, that doesn't exist, right? In terms of pain point, right? So I think this kind of links to the other idea, where we're saying, with a Gitcoin idea, where it's about creating an environment where you're able to understand, the sentiment or the pain points, and what sort of technology stack would be best, to solve it. If you have that skill set, then you're in a position to actually present yourself up for being the person to implement it. If not, you then maybe suggest in the language that you program in, hey, I think this is a better solution, that could be implemented like this. So yeah, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Shall we just quickly move on then? Cool. Okay, right. So this is me, right? Okay. Yeah. So from Stitch, support Cardano.io. Go away. Yeah. Support Cardano scan.io with funds. Okay. This sounds okay. Let's just carry on. Problem statement. Support diversity of tools for decentralized Cardano ecosystem. Cardano Scan Explorer is the Etherscan of Cardano with rich data set. Solution: CardanoScan.io is the most feature-rich explorer available for the Cardano blockchain. Support the development of the platform with funding.
Okay.
Yeah, my first thought is, again, going back to, are you making this a sustainable thing, or are you just, in a position where you keep coming for funding and saying, hey, we create value, fund us, kind of thing? Or are you looking to create a relationship between people who are coming to Cardano Scan .io and getting value from it, and being able to then compensate you for that value that you've created for them? Because big picture, explorers are important and valuable, because they help people, they help solidify trust, because they help you help people
To understand
directly.
the transactions.
Exactly, they help people to actually have a look. Okay, oh, so this is a blockchain. Okay, there's my transaction. There's a transaction ID. It does exist. It's been confirmed this amount, this amount of times. It existed, on this block, whatever slot number. Is helpful from being able to observe and understand stuff. But building stuff that is actually, that helps your average Joe understand, I'm yet, even Etherscan itself, to me, is not user friendly. Right?
Yeah, I think it's in a broader picture, we need a better scanner, which but it comes like in time with smart contracts, when they are literally like stitching together hundreds of transactions and painting the bigger picture for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is something we should look into, and what needs to be done. But yeah, it comes down how it's, because it shouldn't be something like ongoingly like fund. It should be like 1 or 2 time thing, and then it
sustainable.
Yeah, then it should be enough usable to bring value.
Yeah, and be sustainable by yourself, 100%. Okay, cool. So this, I believe, is you.
Cardano and FP in Malawi. I don't know what is FP.
Functional programming.
Ooh, okay. Problem: Malawi is a poor nation with a large young population. Heavy
carry on.
Heavy reliance on foreign aid, need for more innovative thinking, not many experts. Describe your solution. My plan is to teach functional programming in Malawi, give people access to global market, and ignite tech culture at the grassroots level. So another entrepreneur who wants to teach new developers, entrepreneurs. We like a similar guy from previously, but I like his approach more because he's like being personal and like goes after like what he actually is gonna do. As in a previous episode we had, who said, "I want to teach," and I see it's a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Did I forgot to reset the timer. Yeah. Big. I'll start with I suppose a potential downside. I think implementation of this. I think education is super important. Yes. As we spoke about, getting more people to be, to have the technical understanding and skills to be able to solve problems. Definitely there, but I don't think having, say, like individual people being like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm going to teach, because one person doing it is really inefficient and costs a lot more. But then if you sort of plug yourself in a way into a system where the input output is actually much greater, right? So you get compensated for, say, a lot more than, say, the time that you put in as an individual contributor. Does that make sense? As an individual contributor, it will cost a lot more.
We didn't go into it because we already talked about it before. It all depends if you're gonna like distribute what education system and all this stuff, or it's just gonna be like the end, my classroom, and we're gonna stay here.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, and the fact that he's doing Malawi, I think, is of value. Because the value here is actually getting people, enabling folks to be self-empowered, and and if they are in an economy slash geography where there's sort of that lack of not funding but economic stability, I think is there's a bunch of value. This is me, I think. So Damjan, Haskell / Plutus / Marlowe education. Problem statement. We want to ensure easy entry for incoming developers and entrepreneurs, yet there's little education content for Haskell, Plutus, Marlowe. Solution. I want to create educational content that conveys complex information in a structured way, supplemented with examples that inspire new ideas.
Okay, I think we can pass this as a previous and the previous education. So
yeah, so education is important, a lot of value, but how it's actually implemented, super important. This is you.
Ouroboros over RINA. Transaction problem. As transactions increase on Cardano network, every node cannot relay every message utilizing the current TCP/IP architecture. Solution: deploy a proof of concept stake pool and relay solution of Ouroboros over RINA using Ethernet VDIM at 2 sites in Tokyo, Japan. I have little heard about these stake pools and meshes, what kind of use a different method, like sending messages. But yeah, this is something we need to go into detail, and I don't have much to say about how this architecture works. If I think of a big picture, and this is actually something in a grand scale would work better than TCP/IP, and is less costly, and the infrastructure doesn't take. If it's like you have to put as much money as it took to make the already existing infrastructure, and you get like 10 times faster, then I'm not sure is it worth to spend another 10 trillion on that, or just something we should do something complementary to the already existing architecture. So
yeah, I think it's important, I suppose, to make the distinction between the knowledge that we're coming into this process with, right? So like I have an understanding of RINA, which its value is not communicated here within the problem statement and the solution. Maybe because it's too limited of an environment, because there's a limitation of the characters that we spoke about. But I think big picture here, blockchain, the amount of memory and just information that needs to go over the network, that's a pain point. And I think solving this with something that is more efficient, we need to actually be exploring that. And RINA, even going back to Charles's first video, the whiteboard video where he actually broke down RINA and stuff, it's of value. So so big picture, I would say definitely of value. I'm not sure. I can't really think of any sort of critiques other moment, to be honest. I suppose maybe the critique was that communicating the value of RINA within the problem statement and solution a little bit better. So Utah. Exactly. Japan Cardano Governance Association. Meetings and communities and podcasts. Let me just reset the timer here. Problem statement. Ideal. Pre-sale 95%. Sales destination Japanese. Voter advisor. Plus, there should be a lot of comments on the proposal. So this is the ideal problem. Pre-sale 95%, sales destination, voter.
This is
Wait. Okay. Wait. Sales destination.
algorithm.
Yeah, okay, so there might be an issue here in terms of translation, right? Because Utah is Japanese, and from my understanding, I think because Idea Skill allows for you to I think use like Google Translate or something, where it's able to change it. But from my understanding, it might be because he's talking about pre-sale. It might be that Cardano, the pre-sale, right? I think in 2017 or whenever it took place, majority of it happened in Japan. So it might be that might be what he's talking about here. So ideal pre-sale 95% sales destination was Japanese voters or Japanese holders of ADA. There should be a lot of comments on the proposal. Reality of 162 people in the Japan ADA holder questionnaire, 0 prospective advisors, 62% answered that the vote itself is incomprehensible. Japanese governance, community, and Fund 1, no comment, obfuscated by Google Translate display. Yeah. So this, I think, brings up the issue of like internationalization and localization, right? The issue of how do we get tools which are able to actually work well across the different regions? Because it's not just English speakers who have problems, and should create proposals, right? So that they're in and of itself, is probably proposal to actually create an environment where there's this kind of translation layer kind of thing, which does a better job of it than this, because this is confusing. So solution means online/offline meetup held at least once a month. Okay, yeah. 12/24 people hope. Not sure what that means. Governance podcast at least 1 weekly. Daily governance specialized community management, 32% hope. And then goal more than 3 advisors, more than 3 Japanese participants per proposal. Oh, that last bit is interesting.
Yeah. Okay. You want to answer or give our opinion?
No. Yeah. You.
Okay. The first part is a bit. We have already discussed podcasts, and it's just like before we had Latin America or something, and now we have Japanese, which is good, another like a big contributor to this community. But so that's that. But the last bit I like, because it's addressing the proposals themselves and translating them to the new version, which is, I think, we need a human hand on that, because what the hell is that?
True. What I do like about this is the meetup part, right? Because I feel like when you meet up in person, like, you're able to communicate stuff, really well, which, typing or something, is not really there. So meetups, I think, helpful. Obviously, with the pandemic, that's difficult, but I think coming out of it, that will form, a really interesting, rich part of the community. And this Japanese participants per proposal, I feel like the opportunity of having, in the same way a company has a board, right? And the board is supposed to sort of like be this representation of like different aspects of either industries or communities which are sort of affected by the product or the service that they provide. I feel like it's interesting to possibly put forward this idea of as part of your proposal team, or someone within the proposal, one of them to actually be Japanese, to actually create this this link to the Japanese audience. I actually have someone who I've been talking to in this context, so yeah, I think it's a good idea. Cool. Let's move on. This one was challenging to read, man. You're lucky you didn't get it.
Trusted sponsorship system. Currently, there are problems with transparency, selections of sponsors, and lack of motivation for supporters to stand on their own feet. Solution: develop an automatic sponsorship program when the sponsorship contract is written as smart contract and meets a criteria for sponsorship. I think this is the third one now with funding and stuff. And I think sponsorship is the same thing for me. Maybe maybe it means something else, but yeah, I have nothing else to add.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, yeah, smart contracts would automate stuff. Sponsorship, yeah, it's not entirely clear to me what exactly is being sponsored, because I fundamentally trusted sponsorship system is basically a smart contract, but I don't understand what the different contexts are, or maybe it's just having it exist, but then like at the core, do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I think the core is that they have a system and the system provides the smart contract, and the people are just like fiddling with it. So pretty much it's like a use Marlowe.
Yeah, okay.
But with a more sponsor.
Yeah. I think actually, having just quickly reread it, it's similar to charity, right? And I feel like that's what you were sort of like arriving at before, in that the opacity, or sort of the opaqueness of charity, right? So here they're saying selection of sponsors, right? So like, for example, in an election, it's important to understand who is funding who, right? Because then that affects, your understanding and level of trust, etc. So it's, similar in terms of sponsorship. If you, in a context, it's not clear who's sponsoring it, then lack of motivation, for people to actually, I suppose, to support it, say to contribute in the first place, say, yeah, and then if it was a charitable cause, it's just creating this loop of just enabling people, as opposed to actually, giving them a fish, as opposed to teaching them how to fish. Yeah. Okay. So moving on. So from Mr. Boone, we think it matters. Dapp development. Problem statement. Let me just start. Brands spend over $500 billion a year trying to influence people, while at the same time, millions of people are starving, homeless, and in need. Solution: Cause integrated marketing. PaaS. Not sure what that is. Something as a service. Yeah. Leveraging the money brands spend on advertising to create sustainable funding for causes impacting all of us. Cause integrated marketing. Okay, so my first sort of immediate thing is, I feel like, with a smart contract, this could sort of like be baked in kind of thing, and perhaps the idea here is to create a Dapp that would show the example of how it could be done, and then other people could just implement it, as opposed to them using We Think It Matters. Do you get what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like this is again another fundraising stuff, but it has a own niche. I'm a bit like off with the problem statement that like there is a millionaire with a yacht, but here are people dying. Like, but besides that, I think just we put the link below to other fundraising sites similar. So I don't think we should waste time re-going the funding stuff.
Cool. All right, so this is you, I think, Lotto.
Index, Dapps, and smart contracts. Consolidate, earn, and review by centralizing a software repository to reduce the development and deployment cycles for novice and intermediate devs. Problem statement. So, okay. Solution: create a website and social media channel to index and review Dapps and open source smart contracts for reuse and templates by third parties. So a centralized place where people, who like indexes them? Like what
my
indexes
first
them?
thing is, with centralized software repository, the first thing that immediately jumps to mind is GitHub. Because that's literally what it is. It's a centralized, software repository. So I feel like I would love to have, answered, okay, what's going to be the difference here? Like, I do like the fact that, they added novice and intermediate devs. I think at the moment, GitHub is not designed for people who are novices or intermediate. Maybe intermediate,
Actually, they are, but it's not easy to use. You have to
that's what I mean.
Guided to them.
Yeah. So that was my initial just thing. Website, social media channel to index and review Dapps and open source smart contracts for reuse as templates by third parties. Yeah. I think this could be done in a centralized way and a decentralized way. I would personally be more of a fan of doing it in a decentralized way, because then, as you said, who's reviewing, right? If it's decentralized, then, you can have, a variety of different opinions in terms of reviews.
I actually have, I don't know. When I read it, I have problems with it. Like, first thing is that, okay, when I use it, then if it's decentralized, it's information overload. And if it's centralized, I'm like, what it's trying to sell me.
Okay, that is a really good point. I feel like a really great point that we should leave it on. But before we leave it, I'll just say big picture. Let's try and see big picture. Yes, in terms of having a place that novice and intermediate folks can actually, get technically minded and execute and stuff, as well as have a sense of like an index and templates of like smart contracts, etc., especially given that it's different to Ethereum, where you're not copying and pasting other people's mistakes in the code, right? Because it's Plutus and Marlowe and etc., and I'm assuming Glow and other programs that will run on Cardano built in a solid way that does not become a problem. So yeah, big picture, awesome stuff. Google Translate. No, I don't want to. Okay.
Whose turn?
I think it's me. So Seba, Cardano in Spanish. Problem statement. Wait, let me just cancel this pop-up that came up here. Okay. Cardano in Spanish. Problem statement. Lack of Spanish content for the Cardano project. Yep. Describe your solution. Provide video materials educating and keeping Hispanic communities informed about Cardano project. Okay. We have been through an exact similar one, talking about Latin America. This one lacks as much details as the other one does, but yeah, localization and internalization is an important subject that I think is an important thing to actually start to have conversations about. I'm assuming that you don't want to add anything to this.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Ethereum 2 from Cardano Bridge. Problem. To bridge between legacy chains to new ones, what is desired? The lack of existing bridge to Cardano from Ethereum is the problem. Isn't the ERC20 converter a bridge? Or maybe not. Solution. Creating a router between functioning smart contracts on separate chains, allowing a router to communicate between them securely. I'm maybe not technically minded to understand what is the Cardano Bridge. Ethereum 2 from Cardano Bridge. Like mining Ethereum with Cardano node? Or what?
I think, from my understanding, this is basically talking about what the KEVM does, right? or Yella in general, basically sort of having an interpreter which is able to cross chain, like run contracts, regardless of what language or what blockchain it was written for, kind of thing. So I feel like this functionality already exists in the KVM. Whether or not we need different manifestations of the same thing, different interpretations, possibly, if it's rich enough, to provide like, a different angle or trajectory, whether it's quicker or whatever, I don't know. Possibly. So big picture, having something that translates, cross chain, I think is valuable. And also, they say legacy chains. Do they mean like Bitcoin?
Maybe is that Ethereum Classic?
Possibly. Okay, cool.
No, not technically too adverse, not knowable about this. So not more.
But yeah. So that was that big picture. Okay, so I think this might be you or me. I'm not sure.
You.
It's me. Okay, cool. Big J. An ultra efficient blockchain. So problem statement. Let's just scroll back up there. Many developers and entrepreneurs build on proof of work blockchains that are using massive amounts of energy. Solution. We want to create a short animation telling the story of why an ultra-efficient blockchain matters to humanity, the planet, and the future. Okay, this is interesting. So the outcome is actually an animation, as opposed, which is interesting. I've not actually come across anyone else doing something like this, like proposing a specific piece of content like this.
But I think there's a reason. It's not addressing the challenge.
No. One could argue it is, because it's addressing the challenge in that, if a budding entrepreneur or developer watches this animation, and sees, say, the difference between proof of work and proof of stake, and for some reason they do not know, the energy aspect. Okay, I do get your point. Like, I think anyone who knows proof of work and proof of stake, like, the first thing is like energy, right? So creating an animation, you could question, okay, do we need that to actually, because anyone sort of, of the intellectual capacity to be looking to build anything on POW or POS would fundamentally like already know this. But
the challenge shouldn't be make this animation, but the challenge should be, or like the proposal should be like, hey, this is a place where you do these kinds of animation illustrating stories, and that would actually get the entrepreneurs what we want. So we don't get one of these, but we get people who do many of these.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that is it. I was actually, gonna sort of do a version of that, basically. Yeah, and yeah, you nailed it. That's it. Big picture is creating the machine that creates animations. Kind of like I forget what it's called, but you have these websites where you've been able to like go in and type in, like a script, and then it's like, you're able to have different characters like, speak out what you've typed out, and then it creates an animation for you. So something like that, I think, would be actually quite rich and valuable. And I think that's, as you rightly said, that's the big picture idea that Big J is trying to go for there. So now, this is you, right?
ADA in 3050 plus Bitcoin ATMs globally. Problem: you cannot currently buy Cardano ADA from any Bitcoin ATMs because they are called Bitcoin. PYNE operates a network of Bitcoin ATMs and wants to add ADA support. Describe your solution to the problem. We will integrate ADA into general Bytes Bitcoin ATM software. We will do this by developing an extension for ADA in the software. Okay. Like, Yeah, I think the ATM is a cool business actually, which is because there are people who don't have access to bank or don't want to deal with all these exchanges and stuff, but they get cash, literal cash, and then if they can go to the machine, put the money in, it counts it, and they can choose their own token. It's valuable, and if there is an option to choose ADA, I think this is something what mass adoption looks like.
True. However, like where my mind immediately goes to is how much will it cost to actually build this little integration and, you know, push it out to all these ATMs? I would say not much compared to the amount of fees that you can then be able to charge from each ATM if the ATMs are actually so, you know, okay, yeah. So that would be, I suppose, my base criticism.
That is a thing because it's a centralized business, the general bytes Bitcoin. So maybe the contract costs like, hey, 500,000, and then you get your ADA here, and fees are coming to us. So you're just gonna build it and you're gonna leave. But it will bring value. It will bring the value to the business itself, but it still would bring adoption to us. But and the question is it how like is it equal? Like who's gonna get more value? And I think it's mutually beneficial.
So
But
what would you say? What would you say that the big picture is here?
I think the big picture here is just showing the people who are not a part of any blockchain and don't even understand and maybe own some kind of bank account but don't trust banks and now are but still need somehow digitally send money to somehow in other country, then it's like impossible. Now they have an option to do that. And if they can choose Cardano there, I think this is a very something special. Like imagine you have a Bitcoin machine and you have like 5 options there, and one of them is like every option is like questionable. Okay, what is that? What is that? And when I don't know. The Bitcoin probably is gonna cost. I don't know. It's not gonna cost more. Yeah, like because they are just gonna collect all the money and make it in one transaction.
Yeah, they're gonna batch it. Yeah. I think here, big picture is as you rightfully said, onboarding. You know, folks in geographies that do not have a fiat crypto on ramp, as well as exploring hardware. Right. I don't think there's a lot of exploration that has gone into just creating hardware out there, you know, especially I think in the context of ATMs, there's the potential of creating sort of fiat on and off ramps, you know, between crypto and fiat. If fiat carries on being a thing, which I think it will for a decent amount of time into the future. So yeah, exploring hardware in that context, as well as onboarding folks.
It has one more cool thing for the people who travel around and they don't to go into the places where there is no option to pay with ADA or something. Then they go and there is a bit like Bitcoin Cash machine, and you have like done a wallet or you can have an application that okay, I make a new wallet, send there like 100 ADA, then go to the Bitcoin machine, bootstrap it and like restore it there, take your money out. If that thing is also possible, then it's also a use case which is quite unique and I think useful.
This is true. Cool. All right. So is this me?
This is you.
I think. Okay. Cool. Thanks. So number 45. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. So Andrew proposes advertising Cardano. Problem: the best materials promoting Cardano are very often hidden, with long presentations, remaining unseen to a wider audience. I agree. Solution: I love finding these gems and turning them into short, inspirational, accessible videos that can be shared on YouTube and other platforms. Okay, I agree. However,
That's like a
what's the
podcast
ask?
thing, and
Yeah, yeah,
it's similar stuff.
yeah. So I think big picture here, the value is again, informational, educational stuff is super important. But how you implement it, like, in a sustainable way, right? That you carry on, building trust, right? One of the ways you to erode trust is to have a conflict of interest in terms of, having a bias which you're not disclosing, right? And I feel like fundamentally podcasts, etc., do that. Although he is not said that it's a, that the format is a podcast. It might
It
just
actually
be,
in short, but yeah, it's still the same thing and media.
But I feel like in a way what he's saying here is basically what David Likes Crypto, did, and then he ended up being, employed by IOHK. So, maybe that's, a route that Andrew could sort of go down. But yeah, big picture, disseminating information in an accessible way is important. That's I think my sort of takeaway, big picture from that one. So here you go, Geronimo.
Free commerce sell online with ADA. Problem. Enabling stores to sell goods and services for ADA requires intermediaries who have control over your money and charge fees and commissions. Solution. To build open source intermediary a commission-free payment integration for Shopify stores, ADA flows directly from buyer to seller. So that, I think that's just the same guy who did the envelope thing, and this is yeah. So I don't know what more to add. I just link down below to go back there and see what problem he ran into.
Yeah. So yeah, it's APIs, or basically payments, and enabling payments in a much more frictionless way is basically super important. Big picture. Right. So Eric proposes wallet lottery to increase financial identity, FIN
Well, I
ID.
think so.
Okay, so problem. People without a financial identity see no reason to join Cardano. Although we see the advantage, they don't see it yet. Wallet lottery paves the way. Okay. Solution. Join Cardano wallet lottery. 5 ADA for free. Win money, get a financial ID, and support charity. Want more? Become active with Cardano. Thoughts?
I don't know. I don't feel a giveaway is something what actually pulls the community. We just they come, they go.
Yeah, they flip it. I agree. The intention is right. You want to actually, you've established, I suppose, specific ID in terms of financial ID, also of crypto ID, or a did. There's opportunity there, but I don't think the implementation is, giveaways. And also, my thing with giveaways is that they just open this can of worms and, allow for scams to happen. So I'm very much anti giveaways.
So much work to do a platform and then start fighting with bots and bringing no value.
Exactly. Yeah.
They probably will bring some adoption, and but I think there's better ways to go about this.
Yeah, to go about it. Yeah. But I think, okay, big picture here, identity, decentralized identity is super important. Part of that is, your financial identity. So I feel like big picture addressing identities is the key here. And then, because once that's solved, then you have the trickle down for the down the line. And I feel like just a quick highlight here is, whenever I think of lottery, I think of gambling, and I don't think if we want people to understand that crypto is not gambling, like we want to, in a way, move away from,
the uncertainty, from the
ex
randomness.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, precisely. Yeah, I couldn't have said it even better. Okay,
I think this should be a last one. So it's a good number, and then we have like 30, because we're also getting to 1 hour and 30 mark.
Really, again? Wow. Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, I think this is you, though.
Where am I? Okay. Lovelace Academy, Marlowe, Plutus. Problem: attract, inspire, and educate builders and visionaries to build on top of Cardano's game, changing smart contracts and native assets platform. So I guess the problem is not enough education, which we already have went through before, and not enough extraction and so on. The solution: Cardano smarter contract series, Marlowe and Plutus GitHub, making sense of Cardano series using Cardano real world. So it's like an education podcast thing, similar what we are like, yeah, what we had before. We have podcast stuff and we had education stuff, and this is like combined two of these. And links below for similar material.
Yeah. So do you think we should get to 50 and just sort of round it off? Because I feel like, yeah, there isn't.
I really like that we have 30 left. So
okay, 48 to 50. Okay, cool. Okay, that makes sense. Cool, 48 to 78. Okay, cool. I'll just jump over here and disconnect that one for now.
And before you disconnect, for the listeners, if there is any maybe comment at our opinion, what we do wrong or what we do right, so we probably gonna have one or most likely two more episodes, and then all the fun to are done. So yeah, so just feedback, like how we doing, so we could improve or.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, we could use, I suppose a better structure, but I feel so far actually the fact that we're just focusing on the problem statement and so on, and not bringing sort of like opinions on, how much they're asking for, the character of the person, and
we would have tripled probably or doubled all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, because there's so much to go through. But I feel like these are actually of value in terms of anyone looking to go into Fund 3, to actually just watch these back, as we spoke about before, and get a sense of like just how much information overload there is, and how valuable getting your proposal title is, as well as problem statement and your solution, just making that really nice and concise, and to the point where you actually get people to then move on to read more. So with that, have you got anything that you wish to add in closing?
Stay tuned for episode 3.
It did, which hopefully will be the last one. We're doing okay so far. So thanks for watching. And if you've got any feedback, try and catch us live, because all these videos have comments disabled in order to actually incentivize people to be part of the live communication, because that's where value is in terms of time efficiency. So with that, thank you for watching, and see you guys